Hello friend. I hope you all are doing well. Today in this video, I want to tell you how to speak English fluently. I hope you learned something from this educational video. So, without any delay, let's get started. Number 1. Get clear on what fluency means. You know that you want to become fluent in English. But what does that mean? There are two parts to fluency: knowing the language and knowing how to produce the language. Being fluent means that you can use the English language comfortably. You can communicate freely and you can have conversations with native speakers without having to constantly look for help. Fluency can also be seen in how you speak. You can know plenty of English vocabulary, but if you have to pause or repeat a lot when speaking, your fluency might not be so obvious to someone. If you speak very slowly, or in a very flat, unemotional manner, then you won't sound very fluent either. On the other hand, sounding fluent doesn't mean you actually are speaking good English. To be fluent in English, you need to master both the language and how you speak it. There's often an expectation that you must know a certain number of words for fluency. But it's important to remember that you can't just study the words and grammar. It can be scary, but you also need to practice speaking. The tips below will help you master your speaking skills so that you can speak proper English and sound good doing it. Don't forget how important both features of fluency are. To read about how many words you need to know to be considered fluent, read this post. Number 2. Immerse yourself in English every day. Studying English for an hour once a week isn't usually enough to make any real progress. The best way to quickly improve your English is to spend at least a few minutes practicing every day. There's a special language learning method called immersion. With immersion, you try to surround yourself with the language as much as you can in your day-to-day activities. You want English to become part of your daily schedule so that you're frequently learning and practicing until it becomes natural to hear and speak the language. You can create immersion in a lot of fun, creative ways besides just constantly studying English from a book or a course. You can switch your phone settings to the English language. You can start watching and listening to English movies and songs. Keep an English diary or volunteer in a place where English is required. Immerse yourself in English as much as possible every time you study. Challenge yourself to listen to, read and even say things in English that you think might be too difficult for you. If you want to speak English fluently, you need to make it an essential part of your everyday life. Watching authentic movies and videos can help with this by exposing you to the natural sounds of the language. Fluent You takes authentic videos like music videos, movie trailers, news and inspiring talks and turns them into personalized language learning lessons. Number 3. Accept that English grammar has a lot of exceptions. Sometimes you can find patterns in English grammar, but other times English doesn't make sense at all. For example, wire read, pronounced read, and read, pronounced read. The same word, but said differently depending on whether you're speaking in the past or present tense. Or why is mice the plural of mouse, but houses is the plural of house? Unfortunately, there are many exceptions to English rules. It's easy to get stuck on learning how to speak English properly if you try to find a reason for everything. Sometimes English is just weird, so the best thing to do is just memorize the strange exceptions and move on. Number 4. Use mirroring to answer English questions. Listen carefully when someone asks you a question in English and you'll answer perfectly every time. English questions are like mirrors. Does he? Yes, he does. Can she? Yes, she can. Is it? No, it isn't. If someone asks you a question and you're not sure how to answer, start by thinking about the words used in the question. The person has already said most of the words you need to make your answer. Instead of just memorizing English grammar, start to look for patterns like this one. There are a lot of simple ways to cheat and make it easier to remember the right words. Number 5. Focus on whole phrases instead of single words. Speaking English fluently means being able to express your thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Your goal is to speak English in full sentences, so why not learn it in full sentences? You'll find that English is more useful in your everyday life if you study whole phrases rather than just vocabulary and verbs. Start by thinking about phrases that you use frequently in your native language and then learn how to say them in English. Number 6. Learn intonation, body language, and gestures. True English fluency is about more than just vocabulary and grammar. If you can figure out intonation, body language, and gestures, you'll really look and sound like a native speaker. Intonation is the rise and fall or tone changes in how a person speaks. Body language is how a person uses their own body to support or go against what they mean. Gestures are hand and body movements that work together with what someone is saying. It's not easy to learn these three things because they seem very natural. One way to learn is to just watch how native English speakers communicate with each other. One way to study these aspects of the language is by hiring an English teacher, if that's in your budget. Another is watching YouTube videos if you can avoid getting distracted with other videos. Number 7. Use speech-to-text for text messaging. You can practice speaking English even when you're texting people. Just speak your texts instead of typing them. You may need to change your settings to enable speech-to-text first. Then, find the speech option on whatever keyboard you're using. Often, you just need to tap a microphone icon on the right side of the keyboard. Start speaking, and your words will appear on the screen. No one hears you talk, but you still get practice. Pretty good deal, huh? But what if most of your communication is with friends and family in your native language? Microsoft Translator has a way around this. Check to see if your native language is included in Microsoft's Conversations feature. If it is, you can speak out loud in English and have your words automatically translated into text in your native language. Your chat partner can speak in your native language and have their words show up for you in English. This way, you get English speaking and reading practice while having the conversations you'd be having anyway. Number 8. Talk yourself through everyday activities. Think about all the things you might do that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. For example, following a recipe when cooking dinner or putting together a piece of furniture. Try writing out instructions for a process in English and make them as simple as possible. For cooking something, your instructions might start like this. 1. Peel the garlic. 2. Dice the garlic. 3. Peel the onions. 4. Slice the onions. Once you have your instructions, follow them. In the meantime, say what you're doing out loud. For example, now I'm cutting up the onions. Oh, my eyes are starting to water. A more challenging version of this would be to keep an audio diary. Record yourself on your phone describing your day or a specific experience from beginning to end. This would force you to learn words that you often use in everyday life or think about, and you'll also get more comfortable with speaking smoothly. Number 9. Memorize and use conversation starters. You might miss out on opportunities to practice English speaking if you just can't think of anything to say. An easy solution to this is to memorize conversation starters or ideas for beginning conversations. You can find lots of these online. For example, here's a list of 250 conversation starters from Conversation Starters World. Of course, you wouldn't want to use all of these at any moment. It would probably seem weird if you just walked up to someone and said, "What 3 words best describe you?" But memorizing some ideas will help you feel better about talking to people in casual situations or to keep conversations going when talking to exchange partners. Number 10. Share your opinions online. To really learn English speaking, you need to learn how to express yourself in English. Even if you have ideas for conversations, it can be hard to know how to put them into your own words. You can practice this by participating in conversations online, posting on social media, leaving comments on articles or writing reviews are all good approaches. Goodreads is a site where people leave their thoughts about books they've read. Writing about books and movies is always a nice way to practice sharing your opinions in English, because they give you a lot to think about. But if you don't have time to do this, there are simple options. Watch a short video on YouTube and leave a comment underneath it. Post short opinions on Twitter about anything. There are many options for practicing your English skills before you speak out loud. Number 11. Get direct feedback. To improve your speaking, you can ask directly for feedback. Since you usually can't do this with casual conversations, it might be worth setting up a language exchange where you can ask the person to tell you directly if any of your sentences sound awkward or unnatural. There are even apps for this, like Go Correct, where you can connect with English teachers. HelloTalk also allows you to chat or voice call in English, and then your conversation partner will literally mark out your mistakes. For self-studying, you can work on your grammar and sentence constructions when speaking by typing out a simple message or paragraph. Try running this through Grammarly to check your grammar. Afterwards, correct any mistakes you might have made. Then try reading everything out loud. I hope these tips will help you a lot to be fluent in English. I welcome your comments. Let's share our thoughts on these tips together. If you like this video, kindly like and share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet.